To continue with these Chapter 14 questions, this is about the decision by Lincoln to issue the Emancipation Proclamation and what impact did it have on the Civil War. We touched on this briefly in the last video, and what you have to understand about this proclamation is that this freed the slaves from bondage in the Deep South only. This did not apply to the border state slaves in Missouri, in Delaware, where most of the blacks were already freed anyways. Kentucky, Maryland, Tennessee, or other areas that were under federal control, such as New Orleans in Louisiana in the very deep South, and Fort Sumter was recaptured off the coast of South Carolina. Anything in those areas, it did not apply either. It is strictly in those Gulf Coast states of the Deep South. What this did was it freed black males to join the Union Army and Navy. Even more, after that Militia Act had already been passed by Congress earlier in 1862, this proclamation was issued at the very beginning in January of 1863, and now there is another huge supply, millions and millions of more men that would now be eligible to fight in the cause against slavery and against the South. Those that did serve, black males, they faced great discrimination. They were paid less than the white troops. But irregardless of this, this greatly aided the war effort because now this enraged the Confederates. All of their help on the plantations or in engaging in whatever activities they needed to support the war effort, they're leaving in droves because they're not under bondage anymore. And this is also key because it expanded the meaning of the war from saving the Union to preserving this to the great moral cause in the eyes of the Europeans. They identified with the Northern cause, not with the South. There is going to be no Southern alliance with France or Britain, as was hoped for by President Davis and other Confederate leaders. On the downside, Lincoln lost support from Northern sympathizers, mainly Northern Democrats who were Copperheads, who were greatly sympathetic to the South and wanted the war ended immediately under any terms, even if it meant slavery still existing in the Deep South. These sympathizers were content with that. What was important to them was to end the fighting. And this is no longer going to be the case. And later in 1863, there are going to be draft riots in the summer in New York City. And this is highlighted in Martin Scorsese's film Gangs of New York. They have a really nice scene where they highlight the draft riots that are going on. And there's also another scene in that movie where you have Irish immigrants getting off the ships, having just crossed the Atlantic Ocean. And they get off the ships and they are immediately herded into a line. Thank you very much. You are now joining the Union Army.